everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope you're liking my new screen. Hey. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Today's going to be a very sweet and short Instagram live video. We're talking about the difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager. How's your day been? I hope your day has been fabulous. I hope your day has been great. And why did I think this video was essential or is important? And that's because of the questions I've gotten from not just my students, but from people who reach out to me saying, oh, I thought, what's the difference if Scrum is a framework of Agile and if Agile is a way of managing projects? Can't we just say Scrum Masters are project managers? So what really are the differences? And so in today's life, my goal is to talk about what the differences are between a Scrum Master and a project manager. And for everyone who's just joining, my name is Stella Iheanacho, and I am the Scrum Master faculty lead at NSTAR Technologies. And so what I usually do to serve the Scrum Master community is I have a free webinar for anyone who's interested in Scrum or in Agile. They want to know what it is about. They have questions about certifications. Will I get a job? What does it mean to be Scrum? What is Agile? So I have a free webinar to really capture all that question and to answer that question to people who are interested. But I also have a 6 weeks comprehensive course for those who want to take a little bit step further. So for those who want to become Scrum Masters and just way beyond just getting certified, but become Scrum Masters and actually, be successful on the job. And if you really know, sometimes preparing for an exam or preparing to be certified is way different from actually what you would see on the job front or on the site or based on experience. So I have a 6 weeks course and we cover all that. We cover Scrum, we cover Agile on the job. We have a very unique and comprehensive curriculum to make sure that our students are successful. They have examples, they know where to draw inferences from, they know how to facilitate the ceremonies, and that's because we give them a holistic package to prepare them to be Scrum Masters on the job. And that's just a quick spiel about our Scrum Master course and how we serve our Scrum Master community. Today's video is really about what the difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager. Again, Agile is a way of managing project, right? So we have two ways to manage project typically. For now, the Agile methodology, and we have the waterfall. And so if Agile is a way of managing project, Scrum is one of the framework of Agile, right? And so that's why the Scrum Masters should be the expert in the Scrum framework. But then nowadays I see job titles about, project manager / Scrum Master, and then look at the job description and I just laugh. But that's a whole different conversation. Today's own is about what's the difference between the Scrum Master and a project manager, and I'm going to be making it really clear for everyone joining. So first of all, let's talk about definition. So a Scrum Master is an expert at the Scrum framework. A Scrum Master is a coach and a facilitator for a Scrum team, for a team that is implementing the Agile methodology using the Scrum framework. And a project manager, just as the name is someone who manages a project, right? And so let's talk about, I have 9 tips here about the specific differences between both of them. First of all, a Scrum Master follows the Scrum rules and endorses the Scrum framework, while the project manager is free to customize. Now, the Scrum framework is specific. So we have, the roles, we have the ceremonies, we have the artifacts. That's what makes the Scrum framework unique. And that's why a lot of companies, a lot of organizations are trying to implement the Scrum framework, because they've realized, we can be agile, we can be flexible to change, we can be more responsive, we can get increments every 2-week sprint or every 4-week sprint. Now, project management is a little bit different. There really isn't any framework per se. It's really based on the kind of project that the manager is working on or the kind of organization that it is, right? And so the project manager is free to choose either waterfall or to choose Agile methodology, just really based on what the project is. That's it. So that's the first difference. The Scrum Master is more aligned to the Scrum framework, and the project manager is more flexible to selecting, the framework or the process that they want to use. It could be waterfall or it could be Agile. So that's number one. Now, number two. this is very important. A Scrum Master contributes. So Scrum Master, servant leader for a Scrum team. However, the Scrum Master also contributes in ensuring, resource management is aligned. So before a team say they're going to do something during sprint planning, the Scrum Master is looking at how many people, how many resources do I have, how many developers do I have, right? So Scrum Master is looking at resource management, is looking at scope management, because scope is very important for Scrum teams in the sense where whatever your team has committed to do at the beginning of a sprint, you want to make sure that they're committed to that goal, right? Because that's a sprint goal. There might be changes, there might be management wants something else, something is all of a sudden really priority. So yeah, you have that negotiation going on. However, you're responsible for just managing the scope, managing resources, and that key part that the Scrum Master needs to keep an eye out for is quality. So you don't want your Scrum team to get into a habit of we are rushing, we're trying to get our work done quickly so we can get more done later, so that management can be happy with us when they are sacrificing quality, right? So those are like the key 3 areas where a Scrum Master he or she wants to keep an eye out for. However, when it comes to a project manager is really looking at the 10 different areas of project management. So we're talking about schedule management, we're talking about stakeholder management, we're talking about, cost management, we're talking about procurement. So there are different layers of project management that a project manager is hands-on involved in, right? So I'm going to talk about integration. There's schedule, there's cost, there's quality, there's even resource as well, there's communication, there's risk, there's procurement, and then there's stakeholder. So a project manager manages every aspect of a project. Every aspect of the project. A Scrum Master is more about leading and serving the team, but still keeping an eye out for certain aspects that would make the team more effective as they work on their sprint goal. I hope that has been clear, right? All right, so number 3, a Scrum Master works with smaller teams. And that's another unique thing about the Scrum framework is ideally your Scrum team should not be more than 9 people. When we talk about 9 people, we're talking about 9 people who have the skills to perform the work. So it could be developers, it could be QA, it could be UI, resources, it could be UX, it could be business analysts, but just a small team of, the based on the Scrum guide is 3 to 9 set of people. However, when it comes to projects, you could have a massive amount of team that you're working with. I've worked with, oh my goodness, over talk about hundreds amount of people in a particular project. That's how massive that project is. And then when it even comes to program management, that's even more on a higher scale. However, a Scrum team and Scrum Master works with smaller teams, and a project manager works with larger teams. I hope that's clear. So Scrum Master works with small team, 3 to 9 people, typically who have all the skills needed, that the team is cross-functional, the team is self-organizing, they have the skills that they need to get the work done. But a project manager, your team can be as large as hundreds, 200s. You have programs that are massive. You've got programs that are rolling out in different cities, different continents, different time zone, different people, different vendors, just really, really massive. And that's a whole level of organization going on, a whole level of project management going on. But a Scrum Master, your team is typically small team, to be honest. All right, so another point, number 4 point is a Scrum Master is responsible for facilitating Scrum ceremonies. And these Scrum ceremonies could be the daily stand-up, the sprint retrospective, the sprint planning, the demo, sometimes even the refinement or the backlog grooming, right? So that is one of and this Scrum ceremony is another aspect of the Scrum framework that makes it unique. However, a project manager is not responsible for organizing any of the Scrum ceremonies. You organize, meetings as needed. So as a project manager, and in case you don't know, I've served on both platforms, project manager, Scrum Master, and sometimes I do both at the same time. A project manager, initially, maybe when you get a statement of work, the first thing you want to do probably is have an internal kickoff call with your team to review the statement of work, an external kickoff call with the client to review the statement of work to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And then you could have a communication plan. So maybe if it's maybe 1 month project, you say, okay, every week we're going to have a status call to have, everybody being on the same page as to how the project is progressing, what are the roadblocks, look at the RAID register, look at the, risk, the action log, anything like that, whatever it is. So a project manager comes up with a communication plan based on the project, but also even based on the feedback from the client. The clients might be like, we don't need weekly updates, or we don't need meetings every week. Just send us a weekly update every Friday, every Monday, so we see how the project is progressing, or we see how the budget is being used. However, the Scrum Master doesn't really have that flexibility. You need to have the Scrum ceremonies, and there's a reason why the Scrum ceremonies exist. It's more for inspecting and adapting the Scrum process, the Scrum framework, the sprint goal, make changes as needed for transparency purposes, right? And so that's another major difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager. All right, another thing is the Scrum Master, one of your responsibilities as Scrum Master is to coach and empower your team to be self-organizing and cross-functional, right? While a project manager gives the project team responsibilities. And so let me roll it back a little bit. As a Scrum Master, your job is not to tell the Scrum team what to do. You can't say, oh, this user story, you do this because you have this knowledge. No, the essence of having a cross-functional team is that all the skills needed to perform effectively, or all the skills, the expertise is within your team. And the essence of saying a team is self-organized is they know what to do. They know how to fill in the gap. They are proactive in saying, I can do this and I can do that, so that they are held accountable for their work. So as a Scrum Master, your job is maybe to coach or to guide them, to make sure that they're making decisions right, not necessarily telling them what to do. However, for a project manager, you have the authority to literally give someone work and say, you're going to do this, you are the engineer, you're going to do this, you are the BA, business analyst, you're going to do this, you are the technical consultant, you're going to do this, so you are giving them work to do. And again, look at the name, project manager, you are managing the project. So you have to give, your reputation or the success of the project is at stake. So you are responsible for saying, you are doing this, you are doing that, you are doing that. So you are telling, as a project manager, you are telling your teammates what to do. But as a Scrum Master, you don't have the authority to tell the development team members what to do. What you're supposed to do is to ensure that they have the skills needed to pick up the work that they know that they are confident enough to do. I hope that has been clear. Let me know in the comment section if that is clear. All right, so the next one, number 6 point is project managers ensure to plan and schedule the scope of a project work. I'm going to say that again. A project manager plans and schedule the work, the scope of the work, the project work. But a Scrum Master is more concerned about ensuring that what the team is working on is of the highest possible business value to the organization or even to the client. Now, a project manager is responsible for ensuring that the scope of the work is planned out, the budget of the work is planned out, the schedule. But if you think about it, in the Scrum team, who plans out the scope of the work that the team is doing? It's a combination of the product owner and the development team. Who plans out the schedule? The product owner does that, right? The budget, it could be a project manager, actually, or even a product owner doing that. However, a project manager is responsible for all that. But in a Scrum team, there are different Scrum rules responsible for scope, responsible for schedule, responsible for budget. I think that is pretty much clear. All right. Number 7, both of these roles need different skills to function, different skills, different certifications, different expertise, different experiences. So for example, as a project manager, you would typically want to get a certification like Prince 2 practitioner or a PMP, and for a Scrum Master, you want to probably get, maybe a certified Scrum Master certification or, PS, a professional Scrum Master, or, from Scrum Alliance or scrum.org. So they do have different kinds of certifications for the two roles. And that's another difference. Another difference, number 8, I would say, is both of these roles are also very industry specific. So you see a lot of Scrum Masters in maybe IT-related industry, software development industry, or even right now, you'd be so surprised, even research and development industries are using Scrum Masters. Marketing companies are using Scrum Masters. And that's because Scrum is a framework. It is a framework. You just have to understand how the framework applies to your industry and use it effectively by hiring a great Scrum Master. Now, the thing about projects is wherever there is a project, you always find a project manager. See, a wedding is a project. Building a house is a project. Putting together a car is a project. So whatever there are projects, you find a project manager. And that is another unique thing about project management is it can belong to any industry as long as there's a project. And what is a project? Something that has a beginning and an end, right? And a goal at the end. That's a project. But for Scrum, you find it in software. But now, like I said earlier on, nowadays, you kind of like find them in almost any organization, that understand the framework and have a very great Scrum Master who can apply the framework to their internal organization. And last but not the least, one thing I like to say to my students is when explaining the difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager is I say, when you have a Scrum team, your goal as a Scrum Master is to make every member of your Scrum team a proxy project manager. Because what that does is that you build their proactiveness up and you build them to the level where they are responsible and accountable for their work. So you don't have to now begin to micromanage them or chase them or say what's going on. They know that they are responsible for their work. What does that mean? You've given them the heart of a project manager. So they are looking at, okay, budget, am I wasting time on this project? They're looking at scope. Okay, what I'm working on, is it in line with what I said I was going to work on at the beginning of the sprint? Or is someone else giving me another kind of work to do and that is now derailing me from the sprint goal? They're looking at schedule. Can we finish this in 2 weeks sprint or in a 4 week sprint? So now they're looking at communication, they're looking at risk, right? So remember all the 10 components I mentioned that under project management. Now, as a Scrum Master, build your team up to a level where they take ownership of their work and they become their own project manager. That would help you a lot. So you don't have to start chasing people. Instead, they are responsible, they are accountable for their work. They take, they just drive it. They just drive it. And that takes the self-organizing up a notch. That takes the cross-functionality up a notch because, they can, almost like a puzzle, they can move around and close up holes that they might be within the team. Finally, I think I just want to say this. It's very important to note that, the project manager role might sound more of a leadership kind of role and the Scrum Master might sound more like a coaching, mentoring kind of role. But nowadays, everything is becoming really diversified. And so a project manager's approach to a project is not necessarily just going to be waterfall. It could also be agile as well, ensuring that maybe the project might just be having increments, whatever they're working on, could be having increments, or having just, things added up to one another, depending again on the kind of project. And that's just the funny thing about project is you need to know what the end goal is and think about what's the best method to reach that end goal that will make the customer happy, that will make the client happy. You can't really be really stuck in one framework. If it's an IT kind of company, yes, you might be stuck like in the Agile framework, But if it's in maybe a company that has to now have a hybrid, maybe one department is doing waterfall, another department is doing Agile, you need that flexibility nowadays when it comes to projects. If there's anything that COVID-19 has taught us is there is a need for flexibility in how we work, in how we manage our projects, and so I hope that has been clear, the differences between a Scrum Master and a project manager. And now someone might be saying, okay, so what do I do when I see a job title that is both, that says they're looking for a project manager and a Scrum Master? I think I probably will do a different video on that. But you need to first of all understand the basis, the foundation, which is the difference, and then look into internally in the company, what are they trying to achieve and how can you merge some part of PM role and some part of an SM role together, to deliver your project basically, so yes, there are roles that are both project management related and there are some roles that are both, and also Scrum Masters. So figure out how can I merge both, how can I make both such a well-rounded approach to managing the kind of projects that we have within the organization. But again, it's very important to understand the differences between a project manager and a Scrum Master. And for those watching this on replay or coming a little bit late, I'm just going to quickly run through the differences that I have mentioned. Number one, a Scrum Master follows the Scrum rules, the Scrum framework. A project manager doesn't necessarily have to do that. They can come up with their own approach. Scrum Master contributes majorly to resource management, to quality, and to scope management. But a project manager has to go through the 10 knowledge areas of project management. You can Google what those are, but some of them involve risk management, procurement management, stakeholder management, cost management. Number three, a Scrum Master works with smaller teams, but a project manager could work with a massive amount of team, and then it even gets more complex if it's a program kind of management, right? Number four, Scrum Master has to facilitate Scrum ceremonies, but project manager could have a communication plan that has diverse kind of meetings on there, depending on what the consensus is between him or her and the client. Number 5, a Scrum Master coaches the team to be self-organized and cross-functional, so not necessarily telling them what to do, but they pick up the work they want to do. However, a project manager actually has, the right and authority to tell him or his or her team what to do from a project. Project manager ensures to plan the scope, schedule the scope of the work, but the Scrum Master is not really your responsibility per se. You have Scrum rules that plan out the schedule, plan out the scope. Product owners can plan out the scope, product owner can plan out the schedule, including the development team. Number 7, both of these roles need kind of like different kind of skills. Not that much difference, to be honest, but their certifications are different. For project manager, you have PMP, you have the Prince 2. Scrum Master, we're talking about, CSM and PSM and all of that. And number 8, both of these roles are very industry specific. So you would find Scrum Masters in, like I said, IT related, but now a lot of companies are adopting the Agile framework. But project management, wherever you find a project, you should find someone who's a project manager or someone who's playing that role. So it could be a project coordinator, a project administrator, a project executive. And last but not the least, I always say, as a Scrum Master, just ensure that your team, are proxy project managers, so they can manage their own project, their own user stories. They can manage it by themselves, taking accountability for what the work that they're doing. And so that is it from me. If you have any question, please feel free to put in the comment section. If you're watching this on replay, thank you so much for joining. And I hope this has been helpful. If there's any quick tips or quick or questions you have, feel free to send us a DM and I'll be happy to answer those. If you need clarification on anything, put in the comment section. I'll be able to answer those. I'll be happy to answer those as well. And so till next time, just have a fabulous Friday and have a fabulous weekend. And if you're watching this on replay, just put replay in the comment section. I think this will be very, very helpful for you when you're applying for jobs, to know the kind of jobs you should apply for and to know if you have the skills to do both at the same time. And then maybe my next video will be talking more about, if you have a job that has project manager and Scrum Master in the title, how would you approach that kind of job? I think I'll do a video on that later for my next one. Till next time. Bye, everyone.